Russia has responded enthusiastically to the recent summit between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin in Alaska, celebrating the fact that the Russian president met with his American counterpart without offering any significant compromises and without facing new sanctions, despite rejecting Trump's push for a ceasefire. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev shared on Telegram that the summit confirmed negotiations could happen without any preconditions. He added that dialogue remains possible even as the conflict in Ukraine continues. Ahead of the high-stakes talks, Trump had warned, "I won't be happy if I leave without some form of a ceasefire," and had threatened serious consequences if Moscow refused to comply. However, following a 3-hour discussion that produced no concrete outcomes, Trump backed off his threats and described the meeting as very productive, while Putin maintained his hardline stance on the war and refused to make battlefield concessions. With Russian forces continuing to strengthen their position in eastern Ukraine, according to sources familiar with the discussions, Putin insisted that Ukraine must withdraw from the Donetsk and Luhansk regions as a condition for ending the war. While Luhansk is largely controlled by Russia, Ukrainian forces still hold key areas in Donetsk, including Kramatorsk and Sloviansk, fortified zones that have seen heavy casualties. Putin reportedly offered a deal to freeze the front lines in southern Ukraine, particularly in Kherson and Zaporizhia, in exchange for full control over Donetsk and Luhansk. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has repeatedly rejected the idea of ceding territory, and on Saturday, European leaders reiterated their position that Ukraine's territorial integrity must be preserved. Also on Saturday, Trump appeared to drop his long-touted call for an immediate ceasefire, instead backing Putin's proposal for a broader peace agreement as a prerequisite to halting hostilities.
On his platform Truth Social, Trump wrote, "It was decided that the best path to ending this devastating conflict is through a comprehensive peace agreement, not just a temporary ceasefire, which often fails to hold." From Moscow's perspective, the summit was a clear win. Putin conceded nothing and still achieved all his objectives. Trump finally aligned with his demands, said a source within the Russian foreign policy sphere, speaking anonymously. In his post-meeting remarks, Putin reiterated his stance, emphasizing the need to address the root causes of the war. A Kremlin euphemism for demands to demilitarize Ukraine, curb its internal politics, and block NATO membership. No economic incentives from Trump's delegation appeared to influence Putin. The planned economic meetings were reportedly canceled. Analysts noted that Putin prioritizes military outcomes in Ukraine over potential financial gains from peace. While Trump admitted that one or two significant issues remained unresolved, he also increased pressure on President Zelensky, telling Fox News' Sean Hannity, "It's now really up to President Zelensky to make it happen." These remarks were quickly amplified in Russian media. Medvedev, now deputy chair of Russia's Security Council, noted that both sides had effectively shifted the burden of progress in negotiations onto Kyiv and European nations. Tatiana Stanovaya, a senior fellow at the Carnegie Russia Eurasia Center, observed that Trump appears to be increasingly placing the responsibility on Ukraine and its allies. She added that Trump seemed once again visibly impressed by his counterpart, referring to the amicable tone and warm gestures exchanged during the meeting. The key question now is how firmly Trump will push Zelensky, who is scheduled to visit Washington on Monday, to agree to a settlement based on Putin's terms, and whether European powers can steer Trump toward a more balanced approach. Trump hasn't fully embraced Putin's proposal yet,
Stanovaya warned. The goals of the special military operation will be met either through force or diplomacy, wrote senior Russian lawmaker Andrei Klishas on Telegram. Meanwhile, Russian officials felt emboldened to directly contradict Trump. Yuri Ushakov, a Kremlin advisor present at the summit, denied claims of an upcoming three-way meeting with Zelensky, refuting Trump's assertion to reporters that such talks were being arranged. Russian state media and the Kremlin elite appeared elated by the event, as Trump extended a red carpet welcome to Putin, treating him as a peer, even though the Russian leader remains under an international arrest warrant for alleged war crimes. Western media is on the verge of a breakdown, said Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova. Noting the lavish welcome Putin received in the U.S. for 3 years, they insisted Russia was isolated. And today, they watched a red carpet rolled out for the Russian president. Russian state television on Saturday prominently featured the summit's pageantry, global coverage, and Putin's reception in Alaska. Channel 1 emphasized the symbolism, contrasting it with Putin's diplomatic isolation since the 2022 invasion. The red carpet and handshakes are being shown across international media, one anchor announced, noting that this was the first time Trump had personally greeted a visiting leader at the airport.